they did. You want me to tell the story I remember about you? Oh, no, tell her no.
It can't be good, but go ahead.
That doesn't sound good. We had moved from the farm to Galatia. But Dad still was going back and forth and farming all the time. Well, the house was still there, and the garage was still there, and Dad had the big tank out there that he kept the gas in for the tractors and stuff. Well, he'd go over there to work, try to fill up the tractors, and somebody would steal the gas out of the gas can.
You didn't do that.
Out of that big old tank. So Dad says, we're going to find out who this is sometime. So it was a pretty Sunday afternoon, and we were in Galatia, and we drove over there. I'll be darned, we drove up that lane, and it was in the middle of the afternoon, and there was 3 guys in there stealing gas.
Hey, how many did he catch? I don't want he didn't catch it. In fact, I was home sitting in the living room about at least I didn't get caught.
Rosemary, you got anything? When you first got married, how wonderful Uncle Max was? Oh, it was wonderful.
How did you meet Max?
Well, met him at Mount Vernon or Groy, and that woman that got the other ring, right? Somebody
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
CF probably, yeah.
Nephew.
Yeah.
And that was the downfall. He just was head over heels.
Yeah, me too. Anybody else got any stories you want to share?
That's the way. Some of us had the same dad. Seemed like it always fell the right turn to stay at night. And you put those on the bed. You go there and pray and pray and pray. So he prayed himself to sleep. If me or these 2 girls go to hell, it won't be because he didn't pray for them. But he called everybody's name out every night. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Wonderful.
I like it. Be careful.
Oh. Joyce, did you have more than one red light? By the way, I still have it in the camera.
It's always a window.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Oh, Linda's been thinking. She just won't say anything.
Yeah, that's her.
I put that down.
I'll never forget Uncle Freeman. Bless his heart. You know, when we started coming down to church at New Haven, he was older, you know, and I didn't know Uncle Freeman that well until we moved down here. And but he was game for anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he was just one of those guys that just went along. And we decided to do a Christmas play, and this was after Lee came into the picture, and he was going to be the cop in the picture, or in the play, and I'll never forget it. He's trying to read, you know, his lines, and he's doing more than reading his lines. He's also reading the direction, and it says, I'm knocking on the door. I'm coming inside. I'm here about a car. So we laughed about every time I think about that. Because he was knocking on the door, coming inside. I'm here about a car. But you know, he was anything that would benefit the church, anything that would, you know, he wasn't interested in doing a play, but he was there for all of us.
Well, I take offense to him being old. He wasn't even 80 yet.
No, this was the
Oh, so they.
Oh, okay.
They
Said Albert, that always had a toenail that was messed up.
You had no toys to play with. Grandma and Grandpa went to town to get some groceries. And the boys got the post hole there out, and they would take a turn digging. Well, Dad got too close to his big toe, and he took that big toe right, just hanging to the skin.
Oh.
And they had to take him all the way to Monet and get that sewed back. To this day he died, he had 2 toenails on that one toe.
And they sewed it with no anesthesia or no numbing.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Giltner did that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Probably Dr. Gilman.
Yeah.
Dr. Giltner did that.
And he was telling about every stitch.
Andrea.
And then I'll never forget, Dad
Okay.
talking about, getting a nickel to go to Monet and get candy and
Yeah.
soda pop. And
Mhm.
the first story of his first soda pop, it was a nickel and he picked it up and he took a big chug of it and it came through his nose. He just sat there telling you about how he thought he was going to die. And then he told me about how many nickels he put in a jukebox to hear the Wabash Cannonball.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when right before he died, we went on the internet and came up and played it like one of the songs we watched.
Oh, that's great.
I was the only one of us killed that wasn't born in the farmhouse. I was the only one born in a hospital. And I really only lived 6 months on the farm when we moved back up.
Well, aren't you alive now?
Huh?
Aren't you alive now? You said you only lived 6 months.
On the farm,
on the
yeah,
farm.
yeah.
Oh.
So now, Uncle Roy, were all Grandma's kids born at home?
You know, I think they were.
Yes, yes, they were. In that farmhouse. I was 18 months old when we moved from that farmhouse to Galatia, and I remember took a broom instead of mowing the yard. They didn't have grass. My mom swept it.
They swept the yard.
Because it was every Friday, and I remember Grandma Holtzclaw keeping me.
In fact, I have the rocker that's been in the family
Yeah.
for some odd years that Grandma Holtzclaw set in my house. But
Cool.
when I lived there 6 months, I had this dog Blackie, and Dad, I'd always make Dad, I was really young, we'd walk to the
My
mailbox,
phone.
and
Aluminum pan with a bail on it. And she caught popcorn, and I can remember a little kid, I just stuck the whole pan. I remember Grandma being so kind with getting in the floor and picking up that popcorn. And like I said, I was 18 months old when we moved.
So I remember her mostly for her coconut cream pie. Anyway, I would, she'd call me every time for house cleaning. And of course the closet up on top of it was tall, and so I was tall, and so she kept me there. And every time I didn't complain because I knew if I helped her I'd get coconut cream. So it's a kind of a bribe, but I can remember that she had me to pull out the boxes from under the bed, and she had scraps that she had saved. I guess maybe a year or whatever. She was a good quilter. She made good quilts. And so I was pulling them out, and she was going through them, and I said, Grandma, those are old rags. Let me burn them. And she said, no, they're rags now, but they're not going to be. And she said, I want you to get up there and pull out that big bag up there, and I'll show you what these rags are going to be like. And so pulled it out, and it's most beautiful patchwork quilt that I'd ever saw. And she looked at all of those rags and said, this is what they're going to be. And I'm thinking, I couldn't have put those together, but when you put them in the hands of a master. And I made a message out of that in my ministry. And finally a light liken people of all ages and sizes and whatever being put together as the church in the hands of the Master. And once you put something in the hands of the Master, and that's what she was. And I can remember that. I can remember her having to go pick gooseberries. I've never had any gooseberries before.
They had them in their garden, didn't
You
they?
know, and so I just stuck some in my mouth, and don't ever do that. If you want pucker power, well, you can do it.